welcome you now to another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast where we talk about Latino everything. Today, we have another amazing Exchanging Cultures episode. If you checked out the last ones, Ethiopia, Taiwan, now we're moving into still staying in the region of Asia. We have a representing the Philippines. He might not agree all the way, but Filipino-American. Filipino-American. Today we have a US veteran, audio and video mastermind, financial educator, and a foodie, and much more. We have Chris Hagad, a.k.a. Senor Chris. Hi, how you doing today?
Very good. How are you doing?
I'm amazing. I know you might not want to be like the representative of the Philippines, but you know, you're
I'm about 99% American, 1% Filipino.
that's the part that I wanted to touch up on because I know for sure that kind of like Mexican Americans, they are born in the US. They have a weird thing with the people from Mexico. Same thing I feel like happens with the Filipino people, the ones that were born here compared to the ones that are from the Philippines, as far as the way they look at them and think about them and things like that.
Ironically, I just saw on my Instagram this morning, I guess there was someone Filipino, and they were talking about how first-generation Filipinos, I was the first person born in the U.S.
Yeah.
Some of their parents, they want them to like really integrate with America, and for whatever reason, Filipino culture isn't as emphasized, I guess.
It's not represented as much. We'll talk about that first. First, we're gonna get to a segment that I like to call Preguntas Al Chile. Hold that thought. We'll get into that. If you have not subscribed to the channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. If you are loving this amazing stories that we get to bring to you, exchanging cultures, Spanish interviews, Latinos with amazing a representation of amazing Latino, a little window into, if you're ever curious, this is your window right here. And we appreciate the support. Go and subscribe right now. Chris, are you ready?
Sure.
Tacos or tortas?
Tacos.
Corn tortilla or flour tortilla?
I'm starting to try to appreciate corn now, but it's been flour all my life.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why the sudden switch? What happened?
With my Americanness, Mexican food for me was Taco Bell growing up, and I just favored soft tacos over the crunchy tacos.
Yeah.
I think most of the time because the hard corn shells stab my gums every now and then.
I feel you on that.
The only thing I could guess. But now because of my daughter Selena, most of the time she can only eat corn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've tried that, and I said, these actual tacos, because now I don't eat at Taco Bell very rarely now. I'm starting to appreciate that a lot more. So
can you tell the difference between the tortilla that's like let's say in a package from like Walmart or whatever compared to the homemade tortillas? Have you ever even experienced or seen some or had some homemade tortillas before?
Now, yes, I do get to, go to some families and they have cook-offs and I don't know if cook-off is the right word, but they'll have like house parties or they'll, bring their cooking over. And when I came back here to Dallas after, the military, I worked at a metal grinding company just west of downtown Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And, large Mexican community workers over there.
Yeah.
And they would bring over like their wife's tamales and tortas, tacos and stuff like that. So I get to try that. And now I can't do like a blind taste test and, tell what's homemade and what's high quality store bought.
Yeah.
But usually I can tell the difference between Taco Bell and something made from home.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Gorditas or pupusas?
Probably pupusas.
Pupusas? Good choice. My gorditas, I got love for the pupusas, man. Salvadorans be getting down on them things. Mexican coca or jarritos? Have you ever had a jarrito?
I've had a jarrito, but I don't know if I've had a Mexican coca.
like the Mexican Coca, it's a bottle Coke.
Oh,
That's what a Mexican Coca is. It's literally
okay. Then
they would call it Mexican Coca because that's how we have them over there compared
Mhm.
to the ones that are here with the. You still have bottled Coke, but it's just different. It's,
stupid me. I thought you meant like
No, no, no.
Mexican hot chocolate or something
no,
like
no,
that.
no, no. Coca-Cola, like the Coke. Yes.
Okay, I've once I started trying that a couple of years ago. Now I try to eat and drink healthier now, but
Yeah.
before at that time, I always had those.
Yeah. You like them better than the Jarritos?
Last year I tried some and it just depends on the flavor.
Yeah. The
So,
dish too. Also, some people must have their Coca with tacos, but then
Mhm.
some people like a Jarrito with their torta.
I haven't gotten to that pairing stage
So
yet.
I pair, like, for example, for me, a Jarrito with a bean torta, just plain. It's like, I don't know. There's something about those two. Maybe because takes me back when I was young, when we
Mhm.
used to go out to the fields and work. That they used to, prepare lunch for us, and we used to eat those. And I don't know. It's just literally the pan, the bread with the beans. Man,
A bean
refried
torta
beans.
sounds very filling though.
Sounds very filling. It is very filling.
Okay.
Okay. Agua de horchata, Jamaica, or tamarindo. Do you like
Horchata.
horchata? Yeah, you like the rice water, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Well, I guess that's the Filipino, the rice.
Well, Mexicans be getting down with that too. Salsa
Yeah.
verde. I know you love spice. Salsa verde or salsa roja.
The verde's the
The
green
green
one,
one,
right?
the green sauce or the red sauce.
I like the flavor in the green one better.
Yeah. The tomatillo for me does it. I don't know, something about it combined together.
Mhm.
I like it a lot.
Okay.
Okay, menudo or pozole. I know.
Pozole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this one's. I am not cussing. I am disclaimer. This is literally what it is. Puto or bibingka.
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 Mhm.
Okay, explain to us what are those two dishes. They're Filipino.
I just know how to eat them. But puto is, I guess, for lack of better terms, like a rice dumpling,
Uh-huh.
breadish sort of thing. So
Is it filled with something inside?
I think it can be, but most of the time or all the time, I've only had it just as rice.
That's rice.
So, but I would eat the living crap out of it though. Bibingka has the way my mom cooked it. I don't remember the full ingredients of it, but I do remember that on top of it, it had some cheese and I think like some sugar. So I'm also a texture person. So you have that crispiness. I also like cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when I was younger, I like sweets. So that's where I would favor bibingka over
Nice.
puto.
That's awesome. Okay. Cassava cake or halo halo? Or alo alo. I don't know how you pronounce
Halo,
it.
halo.
I might be pronouncing it wrong. Alo alo. Okay, okay.
I guess I'll do halo halo just because I cannot remember any cassava cakes at the moment.
Uh-huh.
And lately, now that there's more places to eat Filipino food,
Really?
lately over the past years versus some time back over here, I've had some pretty good halo halo.
Okay, what is here in the Dallas Fort Worth area? What is to your opinion, the best Filipino restaurant?
Um, I guess the one, especially that my wife Joyce that you interviewed some time back,
Uh-huh.
we both still like Inihao in is that Las Colinas or Irving, around
Really?
that area.
That was
Mhm.
good. And for you, for your palate, what is if you was to recommend a dish for anybody that they must try a Filipino dish, what would that be?
Lechon and lumpia.
Yeah?
Mhm.
And lechon is the pig, and then the other one is?
Lumpia, it would be like a Filipino egg roll for lack of a better term, but it's smaller,
Uh-huh.
crispier, and
Close ends, open ends?
it's usually close end.
Mhm.
I feel like it's a simpler ingredients in there somehow, so I just enjoyed it a lot
That's
more.
cool. That's cool. Okay. And there's some very interesting dishes in the Philippines. They're very rare. Have you ever had it? The egg with the this half cooked
Balut?
balloon.
Nope, I ran away.
You would rather not because again you're more Americanized than anything.
Mhm.
But for you never actually had it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of strange things. One of the things I can remember off the top of my head as a kid was with my mom and my siblings having cracking open a raw egg and drinking that with soda and stuff like
Oh yeah, we
that.
used to do that too. And as kids,
Hmm.
we used to throw
So
it in there, like the yellow part. We used to throw it in
that's
the
right.
Coke and just drink it,
Hmm.
or with not wine, but with what is it called? It's kind of like wine, but it's not wine. They usually get it from the darn it, I'm going blank. The nuns.
You got it from the nuns
So
of
the
all
nuns
people?
used to. I can't even remember the damn name of it, but it's kind of similar to wine. It's not really wine.
Mm.
It's like sangria taste, and we used to throw it in there too, and drink it like
Oh.
that. So you used to do the Coke with the yolk too.
I liked it with root beer.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah.
But balut, nope. My mom could do that. I just ran away.
So for any of y'all that have never heard of it, it's like a egg. It's not a chicken egg, is it? Is it a duck egg?
I think it can be chicken or duck.
Okay, chicken or duck.
Don't quote me on that.
And
But
I think they
believe so.
somewhat cook it, but the duck is almost like the whatever animal it is.
Almost developed.
It's almost developed,
Mm-hmm.
and they get to cook it. And you can add spices to a sauce and stuff like that and eat it. Some people think it's a delicacy. Some people just don't partake. I would never partake no more. Even then, I thought it was strange. Even then, like frog legs, I just couldn't do it. I don't know. I just couldn't get past the thought about it. But it's interesting. Okay. The conchita breads, I don't know if you ever had pastries, Mexican pastries. There's the conchitas, the little round ones. They're like has little designs, look like turtle shells. Brown ones, the white ones, or the pink ones. Have you ever had them before?
Turtle shells.
Kind of look like that,
I
little
don't
pastries.
think I've had them.
Sometimes we had them here at the office. The little
Really?
round ones, and it kind of looks like turtle shells, and they come in different colors. I'm gonna hook you up with another coca, and I'm gonna bring you some. And actually, we can eat them together at the same time.
Okay.
You can eat the coca with the breads.
All right.
And I'm gonna hook you up with some homemade, like the freshest conchitas that I can bring. I'm gonna hook you up. Conchitas. Concha breads.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a translation in Spanish. If y'all know, let me know in the comments. Okay, check it out. A conspiracy theory that when you heard one time somebody telling you on a video, you're like, that has to be true. What could that be?
Conspiracy theory.
Of anything, any kind, whether it be Filipino-American, in the Navy, anything like that.
That to be true. I feel like it has to have to do something with can't think of anything that comes right to mind, but usually anything having to do with the ocean. So one of my friends last week, she was just talking about the that submersible that got lost by the Titanic. Was it last year? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Something, and I already forgot it, but she had
I remember that.
She had a, I guess would be considered a conspiracy theory about that one too.
Okay, what did she say?
That's what I don't remember, but it's like the narrative where it imploded, that's not necessarily true. So
It would have though, right? If it went down so deep and there was a leak, it would have just
I would
disintegrated,
think
right?
so. I would think so. Another one that's starting to come to my mind is where there's a chance, but I still think the common narrative is normal, is the MH370 flight, the one that took off from Malaysia,
and it was
China,
never found.
Yeah,
But the trajectory that it passed was, if I'm not mistaken, the Bermuda Triangle.
No.
It wasn't that one.
That one was supposed to be like some spot of the Indian Ocean that's like so remote.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. Don't quote me on those locations.
So what are your thoughts about that? What happened to it? Was it taken down by some missile? Was there some kind of portal? Did it fall into the ocean? And because it's so remote that there's no way that we're gonna find it ever?
Yeah, it is in a very remote general spot of, not too many places, not too many traffic or anything what am I saying? Not too many sensors like radar and stuff like that cover that particular area of airspace. Um, and it's kind of hard to tell because, some people said that the pilot had flight simulators and they have recordings or diaries or something about activities that he did that may show that he was malicious or something. But
Really?
it's kind of like hard to tell because since the original shock, the initial shock has kind of like subsided, and you don't really get any big updates on the news on things like that flight on more common journalists or news areas.
Right.
You have to pick it up in other areas, and then do you know how well validated is the information, or where did they even get that information in the first place? So
Yeah, that's the other
kinda
thing too,
tricky.
because when the cycle of the news goes for like a week, 2 weeks about that, and
Mhm.
there's of course there's no black box because you can't even find anything. But it's just like we forget about it and move on. But I mean, it still disappeared.
That's right.
Somebody has to be looking for it
Yeah.
somewhere. We might not be in the news about it, the news cycle, but you're right. We can kind of forget about if they're actually looking for it, or if they gave up, and it is what
Mhm.
it is now.
Right.
Okay, so you were talking about the ocean, even though it's remote. So you be in the Navy. You used to be Navy, correct? You
Right.
used to be in a what was it? A battleship? What do they call it? What is it
It's
called?
a destroyer.
Destroyer. So you
Mhm.
used to go out months at a time out in the sea.
Mhm.
Okay. I seen this video about these massive freaking waves in the middle of the ocean, sometime where there's a storm, and it makes you look like you're so puny compared to these massive waves. Did you ever encounter any storms like that whenever you are out and about? How is
There
it?
there is one. And the funny thing was, little fun fact was I used to get well, still do. That's one of the reasons why I don't do things like roller coasters and stuff like that is I get that equilibrium or that
Yeah.
very easily. So when I first got on ship, the first 6 or so months, oh, I got seasick.
Did they give you medicine for that?
They give you a little bit, but the only real cure that I ever got was to go what we call topside, which is basically outside. So
Mm,
as long as I had the fresh air and I could see the horizon, the ocean, and the sky,
yeah.
everything would go back.
It
But
was more like a mental thing for some time.
something, or I don't know if my mind needed a reference point or something at that
Mm,
time, because yeah, the moment I closed the first set of airlocks, I was already starting to feel really bad, and so I
crazy.
suffered for a little bit. And so on the one hand, while crossing the Atlantic, there's a time where the ocean was completely glass smooth,
Wow.
and the only ripples that we were making was our ship passing through. I would have never thought that the ocean would ever be flat like that. It was
Hmm.
weird. And then on the opposite was almost halfway through our deployment, we were at the Adriatic. The Adriatic Sea is the body of water east of Italy.
Uh huh.
So you've got Italy, and then I guess they would call that Eastern Europe. It's like Bosnia, Yugoslavia,
Yeah.
all that. So, and I've heard of that body of water.
Hmm.
A couple of guys that were in Navy Special Operations, they hated, they had personal experiences in that body of water.
Because it's rough.
Hmm.
Mm.
And so when we went through it, I kind of kept that in mind. And I remember that particular morning. It was a Sunday morning. So usually on the Sunday mornings, they'll let most of the crew, if they don't have anything to do,
Yeah.
sleep in. Um, they wouldn't pass anything over the intercom until about I think lunchtime or so.
Wow.
And but I remember we're just, you know, just rocking back and forth, back and forth. and one of the trash cans had gotten loose, and it was actually sliding from side to side. And so that's what woke me up, just hearing it slide across the floor, hit. We call it the bulkhead. That's the wall.
Yeah.
And then the ship would tip, and it would just go back forth. And I finally realized I couldn't go to sleep, and I started to stick my head out, and looking out in the open area, I saw one guy. He was walking through, and I guess he didn't know about the trash can. I think he had just came down. And I guess he saw the trash can heading for him, and I saw him turn and run with the trash can following him.
What?
And it hit him. So that was kind of like funny. I dressed up, and I decided I'm going to go outside because the ship is rocking way too much. I got outside, and the main deck, I'm guessing, is probably about 30, 40 feet above the water.
Mm-hmm.
And the waves were probably about, when I looked, the waves were about 20, 25 feet higher than that.
Ah,
And
Jesus.
they look like, and this time they didn't look like, waves you see in the movie. They didn't look like tidal waves. They looked like a bunch of pyramids just juggling around, bumping each other, hitting the ship. It was the strangest, scariest thing.
So
So
whenever
I
you
ran
go
back
through
inside.
that, so whenever you go through that, is the ship okay as far as like not worrying about it's gonna be sinked or hit by one of those waves and take under, or how does that work? Or
I think it kind of also depend. It is totally dependent. We've heard about larger Navy ships getting all bent up out of shape and stuff like that. But they try to like figure it out. Sometimes there's rogue waves, but our ships and a lot of ships in general with the buoyancy and stuff like that, they can take a bigger beating than normal. So that's why sometimes on cruise ships you'll see some wild, wacky footage, but some, and not all the time, but usually, they still make it out, to share their phone footage or their video footage of what they witnessed. I mean, their rooms or their dining halls might be completely trashed.
yeah, what was when you saw
it'll
those
work out.
freaking waves 20 feet plus? What was your first thoughts in mind? Like, I'm gonna die, or I gotta get my behind inside?
Because of the way the waves look,
Uh-huh.
you're just stunned looking at them. So it's like in the movies when you see the character and they're just in awe of what they're seeing, and you're kind of yelling at them
Like,
to just
move,
like,
dummy.
yeah.
You can
And
freeze.
so I felt like I was staring at them for about 30 seconds, but I know I wasn't there for that long because something finally kicked into me and I said, I'm not supposed to be out here. So I was gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Because, yeah, I seen that. I'm like, what do y'all do whenever those big old waves, huge 20, 30 feet, that makes you feel like so insignificant? Even
Mhm.
being in this big old ship compared to what nature brings is like, it's
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah,
It's
it's
crazy.
times like that. For a fraction of a second, I wish I was in a submarine. Then I remember all the, you got to give or take some things. Sub lifestyle's a different animal, so.
Right? Okay. When you think of the word Latino, Latina, Latinx, what it comes to mind? Just
Mm,
hearing the word.
Generally, the first thing that comes to mind is like Mexican, just
Mhm.
because growing up, those were my friends.
Wow.
And I wasn't too, if any of my Latina friends were not from Mexico, I actually wasn't aware of that until probably as high school or so.
Yeah.
But then it just turns out that most of my friends were Mexican. I, off the top of my head, I cannot remember if I was hanging out with someone from
That's pretty
anywhere
cool.
else, like from Guatemala or um, Colombia or anything like that.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's get started with a little bit of your history. So, I remember a conversation I had with you that your family, or either whether your family in the area that you were at, yeah, was some of the first Filipinos to come on this side, or am I
Mhm.
wrong?
pretty much on my dad's side. On
Uh-huh.
my mom's side, which I don't really keep as much track of. I have older cousins, but they were all along California
Mm-hmm.
as far as I know,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes I saw them, but that's about it.
So, what area did your family come to? Texas? Did they go to California to move this way?
No,
Where did they land it
it
first?
it did look like they pretty much came straight here
Mm-hmm.
to Dallas. It looked like my dad had a job with mostly in the computer industry. Um, I know one thing that he told me is he was working on what would become ATM machines.
Oh
So I
wow,
guess that was brand new at that time.
that's
I
pretty
don't know.
cool.
And then he worked a couple other places. The one that I remember the most was like Dell Computers down in Austin. I don't know if they're still in Austin, but
Mm.
they were at that time.
Okay, so for what made your family come over to the Texas area? Why did they leave the Philippines? Was there better opportunities? It seemed like he was a smart man. I don't know if he went to school, but I don't know if you could just start working on computers if you're just an immigrant coming from another country. How
Mhm.
did that work?
As far as that, I don't know. I If I get to see my dad again, I could ask him. But yeah, this would be mid to late 70s, I guess. And at that time, America's still the land of opportunity, especially well, I can't say especially, but yeah, Asians, Filipinos.
Hmm.
You've got the doctors, the nurses, you've got the ones doing the computers, the tech stuff. So um and he had a older sister. I don't remember. Most of them did stay in the Philippines, but like his older sister, my aunt, that she ended up studying in Switzerland.
Oh
So
wow.
that's one that I know, and I don't know if he found a job opportunity in particular, but yeah, did come here with my mom to Texas and pretty much just started working right there.
How it just depends, right? With the Filipino, which whatever. But how is it that y'all make y'all's journey over here? Do you go be a vote? Do you cross illegally? Is it a legal method? Do you have to apply and wait on a wait list to see if you're able to be get your? I'm guessing either residency or citizenship to start
hmm
working the right way. How does that work for Filipinos usually?
Yeah, yeah, you have to apply and wait. It's you know, I can't speak too much about like the crossing illegally part. I know that's a much larger distance to cover, and
Oh
the
yeah.
ocean's very unforgiving. For my parents, they ended up once everything was done, they flew over here. But I do know that like one of my aunts, and this is what when I was much older, she applied to come here to the United States, and she waited about 25 years before she could come here.
Is the Philippines considered part of? It's not considered part of the U.S. or any. They're
No,
independent, right?
that's right.
For years.
hmm
Okay.
I know they got from what I remember, you know, Spain took them over, and then I believe it's the United States that liberated them, and they first and the United States first was going to say this is our territory, and I think there's kind of like a little bit of a rebellion going on. United States squashed that, um, but I don't remember what caused a change of heart or whatever. But anyway, the Philippines became their own independent
Yeah.
country later on, and had also close relations with the United States there.
Okay. So you were born here in the United
hmm
States, here in the DFW area
Yes.
specifically. Okay.
hmm
You did live in the Philippines for some time, did you? Did you ever
Um,
go or just visit?
I was my memory begins in the Philippines, and I guess I was there for roughly about a year,
Awesome.
and that was in '85 when I was 6 years old. So, um, yeah, I started kindergarten over there.
What is your earliest memories of the Philippines when you started remembering, and what is the happiest memories that you remember being over there?
um, I'm not sure what happiest is. I mean, everything was kind of fun,
Uh
but
huh.
memorable, memorable. I do remember one time I was in a car on the way to school, and on the paper I made a Philippine flag, and I was flying that. I remember that vividly.
That's cool.
I remember watching some people slaughter a pig on the sidewalk. I'll remember that.
Hey, I consume a lot of pig. The
hmm
Filipinos do quite
Yes.
a bit.
Um, and then at that time we were as kids we were gambling. That's what I tell people. We I don't know how widespread this is,
Uh
but
huh.
in my head the parallel that I could think of is, you know how like in Mexico there's like cockfights and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
of
that.
course.
For me and my classmates and my kid neighbors, we had spiders and we had
What?
spider fights.
Were there big spiders, little spiders? What kind of spiders do you
Um,
remember?
they were pretty big. They were small enough that you could fit them. Um, I don't know. I guess I have to explain this for 2024, but
Yeah.
back then, if you wanted to start a fire, we had
Matchbox.
matches, and there
Yeah,
was a
box.
matchbox. It's maybe like what, and 2 inches by half an inch or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And you had a bunch of sticks with a flammable material, and you just struck it, and it caused fire. Well, we emptied that out, and we would divide into four partitions,
Oh wow.
and and at least for me personally, I had four spiders in that
Are you
matchbox.
serious?
Yeah,
So yeah, you used to fight the spiders that there.
yeah. So what we'd do is we'd get a stick,
Uh huh.
and just open up the matchbox, kind of like tap it, wake it up,
Yeah.
get them on one end of the stick. The other kid had their spider on the other end of the stick, and they would just come through and fight to the
In the
death.
stick.
Yeah, they'll crawl on, and then they're on each end of the stick, and
Uh
I guess
huh.
they'll eventually crawl to the middle, see each other, and
Till
fight
death.
to the death.
Till death.
hmm
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
So there was no ring specifically, just on the stick itself. That's
yeah,
kind of like the
just on the
ring.
stick. Yeah, we were just doing that
What?
on the playground.
That's freaking cool. I used
Yeah.
to play marbles. I didn't. It was no. We used to. When I was smaller, we used to have a slingshot. We used to. We call them lagartijas. They're like little lizards. And we used to kind of, shoot them, but
Oh.
nothing to do with like fighting. Maybe grasshopper fighting.
Okay. See,
I
I've
kind
never
of
heard of
recall a
that.
little bit
That's
about.
kind of cool.
Yeah, but not spider fighting. That's interesting. Never seen that. Okay, what area in the Philippines were you a part of? In a village and an island? Oh, first of all, if you didn't know this, fun fact, Chris, I don't know if you know this too. There's over 7,000 islands in the
hmm
Philippines. I did not even realize that there was so
Oh
many
yeah.
islands
hmm
in the Philippines, and there's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You can get to them with ferries in different ways like that. So, what area, what part of the Philippines were there? Were you from a particular island, a
hmm
village? What was it? Do you remember?
So, at that time, I spent a lot of my time on, so always my dad's side,
Mhm.
and that is Bacolod, and that would probably be more or less the central part of the Philippines.
Nice.
Um, Cebu is a well-known Filipino city, and we're like, I believe, one island away from that one.
Wow.
And my mom is close to Manila, not exactly. It's Cavite.
Mm.
So, but and we'd go there every now and then. But yeah, majority of my time was spent over in Bacolod.
Shout out to the Manila. I was there, real close to the Mall of Asia. I still have some homies over there that follow me on social media. So shout out to the Manila. I was there. The Sofitel, right where President Obama stayed when he visited Manila, and I
Oh,
was in a fancy place. I got to go to the Mall of Asia, walk around there, try some of the food. Their chicken's super skinny compared to the chicken that we have
yeah.
here. Like super skinny, bro. Like
But
I had to
those
get an
malls
extra
are
serving.
massive, though.
Huh?
Those malls are massive,
The-
though.
I don't think I finished walking the entire Mall of Asia because it
Mm.
was huge, the biggest mall in Asia, of course.
Oh,
But
is it?
it is
Oh
in
my
Asia itself
gosh!
is the biggest one, Mall of Asia,
Wow.
and in the world I think it's probably like top three or
Mm.
five easily. It's the biggest one. Carlos can probably check me, fact check me on that. You know he will. He'll put a disclaimer if I'm lying or not. He lied. Okay, so as far as it's it's crazy that your parents made it to the U.S. because when I was there, a lot of the Filipinos they migrate to different places, Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
even the Middle East sometimes. When I was serving, I ran into some of them in Kuwait,
Right.
and all those kind of places. So,
Mm-hmm.
what made them decide? I don't know if you ever asked your mom or your dad what made them decide the U.S. instead of all the other places that were around. Even Japan, China, sometimes they make
Mm-hmm.
their way.
That one I didn't ask them.
Uh,
Um, they just kicked my butt to have good grades in school.
yeah. Okay, let's go there. So, when did you decide to join the military? That it was the Navy. Did you join
I originally wanted to join the Air
the
Force.
Air Force?
Um,
Did you join right out of high school, or were you doing
yes,
something else prior?
yes, right out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
The decision to go into the military was made in first grade.
Really? Why?
Um, I don't
GI Joe?
no. GI Joe was boring to me.
Really?
But I had my dad had a dream of flying. So he had an interest in airplanes, and I do remember in first grade having one of those calendars, and every month they had a military plane,
Yeah, yeah.
and they just looked so cool to me. And so, for whatever reason, I just decided I'd join the military. It seemed cool. You probably see it in movies and TV shows, and of course, there it always looks good. But I guess I didn't really make my decision till fifth grade because every day I sat in the back and I was always getting in trouble because I never listened to the teacher. But there's an encyclopedia. So that's like a set of books. How would you describe? Because I don't think people use
Yeah, I
encyclopedias
don't think they
anymore.
do
So
either.
yeah, it's so if you could imagine Wikipedia
But in book format.
in book form and far less topics and content, like now we have like a wide range of things. Like I don't think I think like celebrities or certain people, not too many of them made it into encyclopedias before.
Wow.
I guess the best thing I can say is if you want to experience an encyclopedia and you haven't, is go to your local library. I'm pretty sure they have them. It's
You
a
should have something.
blast from the past, but literally every day I would just sit in my desk and just grab those encyclopedias and just start reading things. But one of the biggest things that I would always look at is trying to figure out in the encyclopedia's definition what the difference between the Army, the Air Force, the Marines, and the Navy was.
Mhm.
Um, and then I just figured I'd do the Navy
At 5 years old.
at fifth grade.
At fifth grade, you decided to do the Navy instead of the Air Force, even though your
Or
dad
no,
liked
no,
Air Force.
Air Force. Sorry,
Air
sorry.
Force. Okay.
And then in sixth grade, my dad or my parents, they caught wind of an organization called Civil Air Patrol,
Mm.
and that's a official auxiliary of the Air Force,
Really?
and you could start off after sixth grade. So yeah, I jumped onto that, and that was fun. As a cadet, you can go to Air Force bases, have like a mini boot camp, have the training
Yeah.
instructors there yell at you,
Jeez.
fly. I've flown in a C-130. I've gone to the Air Force Academy with that one. Rode a KC-135,
A Chinook?
and no, it's one of the jet tankers.
Have you ever been in a Chinook?
I've been in not. I don't think it is a Chinook, but the Navy has like a smaller
Mm.
double rotor helicopter. I think the Chinook is bigger.
Yeah, they're
I'm
rough.
not too
It's a
sure.
rough ride.
Yeah. The little one that I rode was rough, and I don't know if it's standard operating procedure or its design, but when we rode it, the back ramp, I in the movies and the TV shows, I see it close, but
Yeah.
it never closed. Like we took off, and I see
You
the
could
ship
see
just
it.
get smaller and smaller. And I said, in my head, I'm like, is someone gonna shut that thing? But it never shut. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if it never closes or what was going
So
on
this
there.
was all part as you were a cadet, hopefully moving towards maybe becoming part of the Air Force eventually, right?
Yes, that was the plan. But I wanted to be a pilot. First an F-16 pilot,
Mhm.
but my eyes were already bad since first or second grade, so I had glasses and
You have to have 20/20 vision to
mhm,
be a pilot, correct?
yeah, and I told myself, because the 80s and the 90s, we always talked about the future and technology and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I just said, oh, there'll be something that comes along that will let me fly a plane. But as high school got closer and closer, nothing really showed up. And I had talked with an Air Force recruiter, and I was trying to see if I could at least be a bomber pilot. No. Bombardier? No. And the guy, he said, but you could get a job and you can load bombs and missiles on the airplane. I guess he
Closest
I
thing.
guess he's a horrible recruiter
The
because
closest thing to it, I guess you could say.
yeah, he broke my dreams there.
Man.
So and before that, I don't know, a friend had made me watch this. I know it's a dumb movie, but it was the Charlie Sheen Navy SEALs.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Watched it
Yeah.
before.
So I'd watched that before, and I thought that was cool, but I didn't really pay attention. But as my Air Force prospects were kind of going down the drain,
Mm-hmm.
then I kind of like I knew I couldn't be a Navy aviator either. So then I started looking into the
Navy SEALs.
SEALs. Yeah.
So that made you
So
pivot from Air Force to the Navy,
Navy.
and you decided to join the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what is the how was that for you as far as the basic training part? Kind of, you already had somewhat of an idea because you were
Mm-hmm.
doing what you were doing. Was it as close? Was it as difficult for you? Did it make you think of anything like s- not doing it anymore when you were going through the process?
The part that was kind of scary for me was, and I couldn't understand it, and I'm not sure. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if it was a precursor to underlying things with my health, but I had a hard time sometimes staying awake
Really?
in boot camp, especially like day one. Well, I don't even know if you call it, because you get to um recruit training command at around like 11 p.m. at night, and
Yeah.
they process you all night long. So the sun was coming up, and the they call them RDCs,
Uh-huh.
the sergeants in the Army or the Air Force. We had either petty officers or chief petty officers, and they're called recruit division commanders, at least at that time,
Yeah.
RDCs. And so I ended up, liking and respecting them. And I thought the division that I was in was pretty good, but I kept like falling asleep. And my RDC, she warned me. She said, you fall asleep one more time, I'm ejecting you out of this division. And
Ouch.
I did whatever I could to stay awake. Um, but I don't think it was too hard. Cause I guess because number one, I wanted to be in the Navy SEALs. So my mom had gotten me like the Navy SEAL workout videos. So I did that when I was in high school, and then I did Civil Air Patrol too. So we did some I guess the equivalent recreational activity would be like hiking, but we also did like PT.
Yeah.
And then I went to, the mini boot camp in the Air Force Base in San
So
Antonio.
you were all in, even from early age
Hmm.
to get in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the only thing that was shocking to me was when it came to the swimming qualification of the Navy, I didn't realize how many people were afraid to swim. I was shocked. I said, "What are y'all doing here? There's other branches of the military if you don't want to swim."
The army. You don't need to swim to be in the army.
Yeah, that blew my mind. Or even in our division, how many people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this job so that I don't ever have to be on a ship." And I'm like, "Could you just join something else?" I don't know. So
yeah.
so those were the things that probably were the things that kind of like stood out to me in basic training in the Navy.
Appreciate your service very much, sir.
Appreciate it.
How long did you serve for?
6 years.
Okay. During those 6 years, was there, I know you wanted to be a Navy SEAL. Is that kind of sort of the intentions you went in there? Did something happen that you were not able to go that direction?
Mhm.
Did you lose interest for it?
Didn't really want to. No. So and see, that's the sucky part. When I was raised, I was more of a gauge the risk type of person.
Mm-hmm.
So my game plan was, okay, I know Buds has a high failure rate. So and I talked with a Navy recruiter, and I guess that's where he sucked as well. But yeah, his strategy is go in, go get a particular school and get a certain rating, and then from there, once you got that, then try for Buds, and if not, then you can just revert back to it, because if you just go in and after boot camp go to Buds and fail, then you're just gonna go into the fleet, and who knows what you're gonna end up being at that time.
So you're trying to kind of sort of maybe help you in case you did fail to have something ready for you.
I'm building up the backup,
Uh-huh.
and then when I was on my I went to 3 schools, because I like computers and technology. So I took my ASVAB, and they said, "Oh, you could do everything. Do you want to the best school is nuke school?" I said, "I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that."
Yeah.
So the
you
next
qualify high on the aspect.
Well, but I knew a lot of people that scored higher than me, but I guess it was high enough to get all the way up to nuke school. I don't know if there's anything higher now.
Sounds like you have to be pretty smart. You did one of the test. They put me as a
Well,
cannoneer.
I guess you have to be smart, but some of the people that I came across that did go to nuke school, they worried me. I had someone in boot camp that went to nuke school, and some of us, we kind of like made fun of him behind his back because he had a cringy personality. And then the next time I ran into a guy that went to nuke school was on the train in Great Lakes, and I'll just always remember during that train ride, he was just talking about how during his deployment in the submarine, they got bored, and he would wait, what's the age limit to this podcast?
The age limit?
Yeah.
We open to everybody, but you can clean it up as much as possible.
Yeah. Well, he
It's not for kids though. I clicked the button. So if you found this is on you. You don't have these settings correctly, because
yeah, he was talking about how in the beginning of his deployment he would like take a carrot and a carrot peeler and tried to carve a phallic body part.
What?
Yeah, and then he said by the end of his, I guess they have like 8-9 month rotations. He said he got it good with like the veins and the skin and everything. And I'm just like,
what?
So
out of all the things you could have done, and carve and think about, Jesus.
I couldn't wait for that train. I couldn't wait to get to my stop so bad. It was so.
Okay, so did you try for Buds eventually, or you were not even able to get there?
So my trick was, I got on my ship. I was going to do one tour there, try to go into the Naval Academy, and then try to do Buds as an officer.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my current career plan for the Navy.
What did life said? What did life have for you?
Well, so I did my first deployment on my on my ship, and that was the USS Cole. Halfway through that deployment, and we stopped over in Yemen for reasons I will never ever understand, even if they explained it to me. And Al Qaeda, they blew themselves up alongside my ship,
Oh wow.
pretty much effectively ending that deployment. This and then about a year after that was 9/11, and I was trying to, you know, I already had a attachment with the crew.
Mm-hmm.
I had an attachment with the ship, and it was being rebuilt. I was happy about that, but and I was more forward thinking with security and stuff like that. Trying to before our ship was attacked, and even before 9/11, security in the military was like a joke.
It was a joke,
It
very
was
much
a
so. There was no security
huge.
whatsoever. It's open to everybody.
I used to I remember getting qualified for peer sentry, and I was saying, what if someone was armed coming after us, because all we had was a radio, and they just said, oh, we just radio the officer of the deck. And I said, I've been standing here for like 3 hours with you, and
Yeah.
you try to do radio checks and the radio doesn't work.
You
So
serious?
I mean, and then up on the quarter deck, um, having the belt with the pistol was considered a nuisance. The officer of the deck is the ranking watchstander on that ship,
Yeah.
and you would think that it's a responsibility, but they're like, they hand it over to the petty officer of the watch, and sometimes if the petty officer of the watch was like a first class, sometimes they just threw the pistol over to the messenger of the watch.
Mm.
And of course, your firearm is unloaded, anything like that. So, and we ran security drills. We've had it where people came up to the ship and and during the security drill, the opposing person charged us with a knife, charged us with a gun, and most of these guys, they couldn't respond fast enough, because you have to pull out the gun, you have to load the gun, all that stuff, and then fire it. And the pistol that we have has a lot of moving parts to make it work too. So
Is that by design? Or is it just
It-
that one kind of weapon that's
have did you God, I can't come up with the words. Did you handle the Beretta during your time?
No, the only one that I handled was the M16 M203, the
Okay.
grenade launcher. I didn't even get the M4, so I got the M16 with the
Okay.
grenade launcher attached.
When the Marines came on my ship after we got bombed, we talked, and he was shocked because at boot camp, and I guess they were transitioning, because in boot camp, our berthing, our bays had rifle racks, but the only time we touched a gun was like one afternoon where we had gun qualifications, where it was a M16 with a laser, and all you have to do is just pull the trigger, put the laser on the bullseye, and then just keep doing this. And then they said, congratulations, you're an expert.
For how long you passed? For how long you shot? Just one time?
Yeah,
That's it?
That's
Are
it.
you serious? Oh my
Mhm.
god, we had to hit like so many freaking targets. And oh my god,
Not in boot camp.
man. Oh my goodness.
So that was different, and I thought that with the Cole bombing, that things would change. And as I talked with people, and as the ship was getting rebuilt, no, we were going to still keep on getting our crappy equipment. No, we were going to still do this. No, we weren't going to get more security training,
Yeah.
and that pissed me off. And so I don't know, it became kind of like my personal mission to stay on the ship as long as I can, tough it out as long as I can, and at least I don't know, at least be one useful person if anything ever happened to us again.
So that changed as far as because of the relationship you build with the ship, with the people, the crew, that maybe just it wasn't the time for you to head out and try butts anymore.
Mhm.
Okay. And then you 6 years and then you get out, you get discharged.
Yeah, honorably. Everyone tried to get me to stay in, but
Giving big money at that time to re-enlist.
yes, they were.
Yeah,
but
they were.
um, that's the story of the coal, and or at least my story of the coal after the bombing is probably even longer than before the bombing.
What do you mean?
The dramas and stuff like that. There's life in the shipyard, the whole rebuilding. We got a new captain, and it's very, very, very universal that amongst us in the crew that were there during the bombing that didn't like us at all. So yeah, we had to deal with all of that, and I honestly almost threw in the towel
At that time?
No, even after the ship was rebuilt. But the only thing that kept me going was then I got my third captain on that ship.
Wow.
So good leadership matters.
Good leadership matters.
Good
Absolutely.
leadership matters. And as of last year, my captain, he's now the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I'd found that out like a year or two ago.
Really?
So
you
proud
looked
of
him
him.
up, or somebody posted something that you saw?
No. So he became captain of our ship, and he did my final deployment, which was the Cole's first deployment after the bombing. So very significant for everyone, and he was a wonderful person. And then after that, he moved up the ranks. He got the command of his own squadron. And then 2020, during the pandemic, that was the 20-year reunion of the Cole attack, and brought my family over to Virginia.
Oh,
and
wow.
I don't remember, but they gave him a hell of an intro. I think he was like the Atlantic Fleet Admiral, of of the whole Atlantic Force, something like that.
Wow.
So I was so proud of him, talk with him on that. But I don't remember if it's last year or the year before. But last year, the year before, I wasn't doing anything in this particular day, and I heard that the new B-21 stealth bomber was being finally unveiled to the public. So I said, okay, let me go watch this live stream. And sure, they showed, basically B-2 bomber version 2.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at it, and I was admiring it. And then the next speaker, they were like, Vice Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Christopher Grady. And I'm like, I know that name. And I said, is it? And then, of course, here they cut camera to him, and there he is. And I'm just like, good for you, man. Good for you.
That's crazy.
So, great guy.
All right. So shortly after you leave the military, you begin to do some security work, right? Or are you doing audio and video at all whatsoever? When
No.
does those come about?
So immediately after the Navy, I come back, and I'm working at a metal grinding company just outside of downtown Dallas. That's where I get to have all the homemade Mexican foods.
Mexican food.
Yes. Did that for a couple of years, and then started doing some, trying to get prep for some security work. And it's funny because as I started getting into the security scene, some of the people that I looked up to, I heard that they started off doing security at the clubs, and in my head I said, "Oh, that wouldn't be me."
No.
I started off security at the clubs.
So you started doing security at clubs.
Yeah.
Where exactly here in the Dallas area?
I don't
Greenville
think
was popular for a long time.
I don't think any of them are out there anymore. My first one was called Thrive, and that was by the
hotel.
that was by the
Downtown
Crown
Dallas.
Plaza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it still
I might
there?
have ran into you one time when I was and not my best behavior during
that was my first security job. My first day though, I was super late because on the way to work, I witnessed an accident where a motorcyclist hit a car at, I think they said like about 90 miles per hour.
Ouch.
And, I looked at the motorcycle and, everyone's crowding around him. And for whatever reason, in my head, I was pretty certain that he was dead or almost dead.
Yeah.
And I started taking care of the driver in the car. And then he just passed out on me and was like, well, first he coughed out blood and then he passed out on me.
Ouch.
And then his girlfriend or his wife was like screaming. And, in my head, I'm like, please don't tell me I have to do CPR on this guy's bloody mouth or anything like that. But I knelt down but then he came to and helped with the EMTs and all them and, helped clear the traffic. We had a care flight helicopter.
Land right there?
Land right there.
Wow.
In the border of Mesquite and Sunnyvale, and took off, and then I just went over to Thrive, washed the blood off my suit, and just did that. Did that for a little bit. Where are some other clubs? And then I also did some clubs, but then I also started doing a little bit of celebrity work and then more private security work, protecting locations, and then rich people.
What's the most famous
like
celebrity that you ran into that you got to do some security?
I know that you are enjoying the episode for today. If you are, so please subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, leave us a thumbs up, and now back to the episode.
Well, I think the most memorable night, and it was just for that evening, was Mario Lopez.
Mario Lopez. Oh,
Mhm.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
He's pretty. Seemed like he's pretty cool guy, chill guy.
he was a cool guy.
Yeah.
But that night was crazy.
Really? Why?
Because I think it was a Halloween night that he was there, and they were having a party upstairs, and there weren't enough security people. That's always a recipe for disaster.
Man.
And upstairs, I know I'm calling this all out, but I don't know. Asian people can be so dramatic in the clubs.
Really?
Yes, that's like 2/3 of the fights that I always broke up over there.
Really?
But it turned out because I had just been upstairs, and then they brought me down, and then they had me cover Mario Lopez right there. But then on the radios, while that was happening, I think I was pretty much the only one downstairs because a fight broke up and it was the entire floor upstairs, and everyone that was downstairs just went upstairs. But I can't leave him just run out there. So
dang, that's crazy.
So that was a wild night. That's also where, not intentionally, but there was a fight that broke out outside after closing time, and Dallas police got involved, and pepper spray was in the air, and of course got into me and a couple of the guys.
That stuff gets everywhere, man.
Yeah,
it's just not
memorable
like
night.
For one person, it just goes directly to that. It just freaking sprays everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so shortly after, excuse me, shortly after that, and you doing the security, private security. I don't know if you're doing audio and video at that time, but there's an opportunity that gets presented to you, right? Who brings you the opportunity as far as financial education? What draws your attention to it? What kind of sort of sparks your interest to want to be able to be part of doing something like that?
Mm-hmm. So right before that, couple of things, but I'll be concise. But you probably heard where like some military veterans, they have a hard time with civilian life.
Yeah,
miss the military.
There's hold up, I can tell you what it is right now. Okay, so continue.
Oh, there's a term?
Yes, there is a term, sir.
Oh,
adjustment disorder.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a good description. So after, what's that? after about roughly 5 years as a civilian, yeah, I was like,
Do you want to go back?
mm-hmm. So I was actually preparing, and I was probably about 2 months away. I was already talking with someone and all that stuff, and I was getting ready to go into the National Guard.
Mm.
So, and the main reason is because I looked at the Navy Reserves, and anything having to do with special operations or a support role in special operations just seemed very, very remote. You know, you had to be like active duty, all in this and that, and so I said, okay, let me see, because the Army had told me they had a National Guard Special Forces or something like that. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be the recruited BS. I never heard of that.
No, but I did see it online too. But you know, sometimes what they say, but at least it was there, you know,
Okay.
because I knew that, you know, at least for the Navy world, you know, there was no hope as doing it in a reserve-y
Like a
type
part-time
of status.
basis, you have to do it all in or out.
Pretty
I
much.
never heard of it. It's a possibility. I mean, it wasn't my interest to be in any kind of special forces. I was just doing my thing and I'm out.
Because you know, I did get to work with a couple of SEALs on a brief moment, and I enjoyed working with them. So, you know, because the regular Navy, except for like my captain and a couple of other handful of guys that are more minded in that area. So that's what I was looking into.
So you were 2 months in, almost there, and then what happened?
Almost there, and then I reconnected with a elementary school classmate of mine, and actually I reconnected with her initially. She found me while I was in the Navy, but you know, after a couple of years, we finally meet. She wants to try to be in some police organization or something like that, and you know, we hung out and became friends. And her mom had some old furniture, and so I ran to her mom, and her mom had a heavy Asian accent, and I misunderstood her.
What you thought she said and what?
So that night, while I'm like lugging away her refrigerator and stuff like that, I could have sworn she said, "Hey, would you like to come with me and meet some Filipinos?"
So Filipinos or Filipinas?
Well, I heard Filipinos, but you know, Filipinos can usually be like universal.
A bunch of different Filipino.
And so I thought it was kind of weird because, you know, she's older than me. But then I said, hey, but you know, I make friends with everyone, old, young, whoever. So I said, okay. She told me, you know, what day to meet at her house, and you know, she'd take me. I said, cool. So that day came. I was dressed not nice, but like, you know, not t-shirt and shorts.
Business casual type.
I don't just it just wasn't t-shirt and shorts.
Okay.
So maybe it was jeans and t-shirt. I don't know.
And then
that was formal for me at that time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Then we were in the car, and she was just so happy, and she said, "I'm so glad you were coming with me to learn about financial." And I said,
like, what?
I said, what?
And how long ago is that? How many years ago was
that? That was the beginning of 2010.
2010.
So 14 years ago.
Okay.
So I just said, okay, whatever. Let's just see what was going on.
Yeah.
So she took me to her office, and I met a gentleman who, you know, now we're just like, I don't know what you'd call us. I mean, we're not like best friends, but we're like great friends.
Who's that?
His name's Dewey.
Oh, Dewey.
Yeah.
Gentleman that runs this place.
Yeah. And
we are best friends now, besties.
I don't. Well, I said I don't know if we are, but you know, we're up there.
Like
yeah,
definitely.
And so I was blown away by what he taught me. What he showed me. I'd never heard any of that stuff, and you know, one of the things that I had learned was how time can be on your side, especially if you start early with your money, saving it up, putting it somewhere to grow exponentially over time. And I was around 30 at that time, and I panicked too because
Like you ran out of time. Might not
yeah,
have enough time.
because um, if I started any of that stuff while I was in the Navy, I would have been in a far better position, or at least more reassured of where my future was. I mean, I was a reckless person at that time too, because like I said, um, my late teen times was, my parents were already splitting apart and stuff like that. So I was kind of hating life, and so I saw the special operations side, SEAL side, as I was like, okay, let me do what use I can in the earth before someone finally gets a jump on me and ends me right here, kind of mentality.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to have something saved up. And the one thing that I always remember is my first school shortly after boot camp, because in the military you're paid twice a month,
Correct.
usually the 1st and 15th. And we woke up on one of those paydays, and our classes were in the afternoons to the evenings, so we had the mornings off. And so we got with our friends, and we are trying to think of where to go and all that stuff. And one of our friends is like, "Hey, I can't do anything. I don't have any money." And I said,
How?
"Yeah, how?
You just got
We
paid."
just got paid. We just woke up." And there's no, I mean, okay, maybe technically, maybe there was Amazon in 1999, or I never heard of it. I had never heard of Google back then either. So there was no online shopping really. So we're like, we just got paid.
Yeah.
But then we went to the ATM machine, and he stuck his card, and he had like a negative 100 something balance.
Are you serious?
And
Oh,
so
man.
that stuck with me. And and then when I think about like finance, didn't learn anything growing up in school really. Just whatever my mom told me, save your money. I was bad at it anyway.
So nobody ever presented any kind of financial education, financial literacy, financial
Mhm.
anything, even in the military.
In boot camp, they taught us how to balance a checkbook.
That's it. That's to the extent of the things that you need to learn about finance and
Yeah.
preparation. That's all they did for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So whenever you got here, you saw dude what he had to say. Kind of maybe made you go into a panic, and then you became part of the business. At
Well,
that time?
they had asked about a career in finance,
Mhm.
and in my head I'm like, no way. I was like, do I? Because in my head I'm like, banker, Wall Street. I'm like, that
Yeah.
is not me. That is not
Right.
me. But I was interested in the products that were there.
Mhm.
So I started off as a client first.
Mm.
And around that time, I was still shifting. I was moving up in my private security world too. So
Right.
I was like, hey, I got a career here. So um tried to get a product, and this one involved life insurance. And I was shocked. I got declined because of
Really?
health.
Mm.
So, and I mean that whole Navy time, I'd started having to take medication for like cholesterol, blood pressure, stuff like that in the Navy already. So that's all I could think of. So I just shrugged my shoulders. I was like, okay, I tried. Um, Later on, I ran into a couple other people that were in the same organization, and I taught them how to shoot. And so they were like, they didn't have good English, and they were saying, well, maybe you can like help our team here because our English isn't that good. So I said, okay, fine, whatever.
Whatever.
So, and then I just stuck with it a little bit. And the part that was really cool with me, was kind of resonated with me, was we would go to people's houses and I would get to see, you know, a lot of people, and they had a lot of different type of gaps in their situations financially with their family. A lot of them didn't know about protection or saving up. A lot of people had like some debt and stuff like that. And we were helping them out, and that felt really, really good, and I started enjoying the business. Um and yeah, I was not an audio video guy at all at this time. I played video games.
That's all you did.
And then I worked on my radar in the Navy. That was the extent of my electronics. But about 1 year into this organization, we had an event in a hotel, and it's probably about 200, 300 people there. And yeah, the sound was horrible. The video was okay, I guess, but the sound was just bad. And I remember like one of my friends, because they say, and I believe it was, the financial industry, $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
And these guys, they were coming in, checking everything out, and the experience in that event was so horrible. And they said, "You call this $1 billion industry?"
With that kind of
And
sound.
yeah, and for whatever reason, I took offense to that. And for to this day, I've learned about live sound, live video,
All self-taught
self-taught.
on videos and different stuff like that.
I didn't know where I was going. I just, but I had the output in my mind, and whether it's right or wrong, or whether it's the industry standard or not, and there was, and well, yeah, YouTube existed, but like YouTube wasn't like the resource. I call it the resource flea market nowadays, because sometimes you can find some stuff, but sometimes it can take you down this weird rabbit hole. Especially when it comes to specialized stuff like this.
Got you. So were you mostly just trial and error type of just got the
Mhm.
equipment and doing it? I don't know if you got
Well-
any books. Did you go into find any books about it?
A few books. Now, some of it was stuff that I did when I was back in the Navy. Like in the Navy, digital cameras were kind of coming of age.
Yeah.
When I in the beginning of my Navy career, we had the Sony digital cameras that had the 3.5-inch floppy disk,
Yeah.
the Mavic. So you took a picture and you could store like 8 to 15 photos in there,
And then floppy disk.
yeah, and the floppy disk, and then you just stick it in your computer, and it was right there. And then it just in those 6 years, it evolved big time. Then Sony had the memory sticks at that time, and I remember I had a memory stick digital camera, and it was just you just take a picture and that's it. And then when we were in Crete, which is a island off of Greece, I wanted another memory stick, and they had a memory stick there in the store, and I bought it. And it turned out that it's brand new and it wasn't compatible with my digital camera.
Wow.
And I was mad, and I was getting ready to return it, but then I just ended up buying a newer digital camera. This one had the program, aperture, shutter, manual, and just being able to control and fine tune and get the output that I wanted was very therapeutic to my damaged mind, for lack of better terms. I guess would end up being like my growing PTSD.
Mm.
So on my final cruise, which was, the Cole's first after the bombing, 2/3 of that deployment, I started taking pictures with that new camera, and it gave me a lot of calm with that one.
So you think it was some kind of coping mechanism with
Mhm.
the PTSD that you had?
Yeah. Even to this day, even with the stress of trying to film live moments as they happen, it's kind of it's still kind of calming
Mm,
for whatever reason.
okay. So because of the event and the comments of this person, you didn't like it, so you made you want to get involved too, even though you're
Mhm.
still part of the campaign, but be part more of the audio. Also do the audio part and make sure that the presentations, everything they talked about, the information is very important, get passed down, but it still looks great, still sounds amazing. Is that how kind of the transition happened, or the?
And up until recently, I had told myself that I couldn't do what the rest of this organization was doing. I was um um I don't think introvert's enough of the word, but basically to this day, whenever I meet someone, it's just automatic, I look at the person, then I look at the hands, then I look at the waistband. So basically what I had told someone is you're a threat until you're proven innocent, which is very
Yeah.
uh which, can hamper you when you're meeting, people that you've never met before.
I mean, I think it's a military thing, right? Because you don't know what intentions with
But
anybody, right?
yeah, but I don't know
I
too
see
many.
everybody's stranger danger until we're good.
I guess, but yeah, I just really wanted to keep it keep to myself. I was just one of the guys. Do your work quietly. I liked my guys that were in the service. They just did their job, and even in the civilian world, some guys don't even know that they were in the military, and they're just minding their own business, all quiet, and we're out here and we declare our intentions publicly. We're all excited and the bravado, and it was the complete opposite of
Mhm.
how I lived. So I just like gave up on myself on trying to me personally help someone. I tagged along with other people and we did teamwork, but for like myself, I gave up on myself. But at around that same time, that guy's comment and the experience, because I couldn't fight back. I agreed with him.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't agree with him in his retort on the financial industry, but I agreed with him that the event was kind of disastrous. So I had to figure out a way to make sure that that didn't happen again.
Awesome.
And that's where I went down this whole tech, film, AV rabbit hole, you know. And then just to like fast forward, just to keep it short, um the once because in the beginning there wasn't a financial literacy campaign with this
Correct. It
organization.
was something different prior to, right?
Yeah, you were basically like a salesman in the financial world, um, insurance agent, pretty much. Um, and then we pivoted. Our head campaigner Swanwin, he found out how to he found the direction he wanted to take the whole organization, and that was with education. Um, and he saw another organization doing that, got inspired, and he just literally put his whole team to kind of like pivot right there, and just called the shot and did it.
Do you remember
And
what organization he got inspired by? What did he see it from?
um, the only thing I can think of is just because of the timing, because at that time we were adding the Heartland Institute for
Mm,
Financial Education into our
for school.
platform.
Hmm.
We know them now for college planning, but at that time they were also doing financial education mainly for businesses and larger organizations.
Not for the individuals.
That's right.
Mhm.
So you had to be and you had to be like a certified educator. They had this long whatever, and in my head I was like, I don't have time for PhD study and all that stuff. So, but then and to me, I believe that was kind of like the inspiration to taking the whole organization to a financial literacy campaign.
Awesome.
And so I enjoyed the organization, and I scrounged up, did whatever side jobs I could to just like stick around. Threw a bunch of money, just like in the military. I threw a bunch of money in using non-issue gear, just so that I could stand the watch, do my security better,
Mhm.
all that stuff. It was the same rabbit hole here, and and then I'll always remember, and I think he still does, where he was inspired with Dr. Martin Luther King and his Million Man March in what's that place in Washington D.C., the National Mall, that
National Monument, I think. Is that what it is?
something like that.
Carlos would fact check for us.
Okay. So, and he would love to, change the whole North America's financial situation as a whole. And so he was inspired that maybe one day we could do something like that.
Oh.
And so, a lot of people wonder why I do a lot of things that they consider overkill, especially for, smaller rooms or something like that. But it's the same reason that before we were able to successfully do events for 3,000, 4,000 people, because he hoped to maybe have an event somewhere in Washington, D.C. in that same area. And I told myself, well, when that day comes, when they start thinking, how are we going to do the stuff that we need to do to make this event a success, I can already raise my hand and be like, hey, I can definitely help out on that.
That's awesome. Okay, so I know that it impacted you. I know that it might have been your trajectory doing different, but what has it done, like the financial literacy campaign, World System Builder, done for you as far as your life personally?
Um, even though, for one thing, it's made me more cognizant over what I spend on. Um, the military taught me buy once, cry once.
By one, right one.
and I estimate that when it came to all the gear and equipment that I bought for security and force protection in the military, like me and my friends, we think that I've probably spent like $10,000 to $15,000 on all that stuff. So
Yes, pricey.
yeah, there were like my lockers and all like my storage was just like bursting with all the different type of gear, and I got yelled at, um, but I also had a lot of good support. If I didn't have good support, I don't know where we would be. Um, but I did a lot of trial and error with that stuff, and I spent a lot of money with that. And you're in the military. As long as you're in the military and you don't get in trouble, you're getting paid. So
Right.
every paycheck, I was paycheck to paycheck going after the cutting edge stuff, and that kind of continued on even in civilian life. And then preparing for going back into the military again, and then here in WSB, good, reliable technical gear is not cheap either. But I also had to learn to be cognizant of how I spend that also, and learn to set aside things and make do with things. So, I don't have the industry standard stuff, but I've been able to make things work, I guess, for
Okay.
lack of better words.
What else has it done for you as far as in regards to your personal life?
Um, Even though I'd still have that initial reaction of everyone's a threat until innocent. Um, I'm a little bit more social now. Um, I'm well, this is pandemic pudge, but I am I am healthier than before I was in the organization. I was
Not to mention you were a bachelor, and then you.
well, I was getting to that
okay,
part,
okay, okay,
but
okay. Sorry.
but yes. So yeah, I came into the organization single. Met my wife Joyce, who you spoke with her. I think it
We've done
was
an episode before.
I think it was your first non-Latino episode.
Yes.
Yeah. So and we're both part of the campaign. We both support each other in that. It's wonderful. And I do like all the technical stuff, all the crazy stuff that normal people can't handle. And her personality, she's really good at really helping out the families over there.
Yeah. Not only that, but you
Um,
have another surprise running around here somewhere.
Yeah. Well, she's when she does a good job listening to me, right? You haven't heard a peep from her right
Nope,
now.
she's nowhere right now.
So yeah, I have a 7-year-old daughter, Selena. Wonderful. I mean, you see how I treat her, but and one things that I really 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 cherish is since 6 months old until a year and a half ago when she finally started school at first grade.
Mm-hmm.
We homeschooled her kindergarten, just still pandemic times. Didn't really know that whole school and how to proceed with
Right.
that.
Absolutely.
But from 6 months old until 6 years old, yeah, from 6 months old to 6 years old, just because of being able to do our work and being family oriented, I've had her pretty much stuck to my hip almost every single day.
Right.
And with a lot of peers that I have, they talk about how one of their bigger regrets is not seeing their kids grow up. Some parents, they really try to start trying to connect with their kids when they're like preteen or
I think they're too late by then.
yeah.
They already made up
So
their own little mind to be something.
and that still touches me because when before she was born, everyone's like, "You ready for the diapers, the sleepless nights, and all that stuff," and none of that bothered me. But the one that always kind of terrified me was when they talked about how fast they would grow up,
Yeah.
and even having her almost like every hour of the day for 5.5 years during those infant to little kid moments, it was still too
It
fast.
was fast, right? Because
Golly.
I remember seeing a picture of her being a little baby compared to now, and it's like, damn, that was her back in the days when y'all were traveling the world, and now she's here, still
that
traveling the world
is
with y'all.
that is probably the biggest for me personally. That's probably the biggest treasure that this this financial literacy campaign with WSB has given me personally.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. Well, Senor Chris, we're running short on time. However, before I let you go, I got a couple more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you even partake on social media? You post any of your work or anything like that, so on? Let me get your
Rare.
social media. Where can anybody reach out to you if they needed to know about financial literacy, anything like that?
Well, I guess I generally bounce between Facebook and Instagram only, but I post maybe like once every 3 months.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll catch a random story here or there.
Or you might catch some of the footage he sent me so I can post, like the one for the eclipse that just happened.
Oh yeah.
He sent me a freaking amazing video, and I did a little editing myself and put it out there.
Yeah.
But that was his footage. I did credit you on it. It's like, man, it
Yes.
was freaking dope. If you, Carlos has some great pictures that he took too. So
Oh,
if
I
you can
want to
clip,
see those too.
yeah, man, it was amazing. Okay, so make sure you follow him, Chris. He's just Chris, right? He's not Christopher. No, it's your full name, right, Christopher?
I
Hagad
On Facebook, yeah, I guess you just look for Christopher Hagad, Hagad, and on Instagram, I it's just a shorter Chris Hagad.
Okay. And shout outs. Any shout outs? Anybody that you talk to, friends, family, the spouse, the Selena over here running around? Oh, she's actually not. You're right. She has not moved.
I know you don't even hear her footsteps.
Not even a footstep.
See, she listens to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely Selena and Joyce. The whole of WSB, Swan and Alicia, Dewey. Thanks for having me on as well.
Absolutely.
Too many. Yeah, I did mention Admiral Christopher Grady. I honestly do not know what decisions out of frustration or sorrow or whatever during, I wouldn't have waited until my enlistment was up. I don't know what because I was really on the edge.
You're close to AWOLing?
Huh?
You're close to AWOL?
So at that time, there was one time I was on the fantail of the ship, and we were out in the ocean, and I was thinking about the ship screws underneath me in the ocean. I'll just leave it at that.
Whoa. That deep.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It was frustrating. It was frustrating.
I don't doubt it whatsoever.
So he literally came at the right time, and I'm proud of where he is and doing his part, for America, the U.S. Navy, all of that stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. This thing would go on and on if I could think of all that, but yeah.
Other people he knows, shout out to you. You know who you are. And
what is highlight?
Yeah. What is an important lesson that you learned doing the business, financial education, or AV that you will tell your younger self that will help somebody else out? What would that be?
Take risks. Don't be too cautious. You have a goal, go for it, because just like the kiddo that's trying really, really hard to ninja step away.
Come here. Come here. Say hi to the camera.
Time will go way too fast.
The episode.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't know if she showed up during Joyce's time, but
no, she did not. She didn't make an appearance.
This is Selena.
Hi. I wanted to build in the business.
Okay.
Cool.
You want to build in the business? All right. Well, that's enough time for you, the camera.
Yeah,
we'll give you more camera time some other time.
Someday.
All right. Okay. So what? Take risk. You were saying?
Yeah. Take now. Don't be reckless, but
calculated risk.
I know that makes no sense, especially when people think that I do like executive protection, bodyguard, and stuff like that. But that's all like risk assessment type stuff. I used all my advancing skills. They use that to try to control the situation and make sure that the person that you're protecting is safe. And but yeah, don't try to eliminate all the risk. I guess don't be afraid of getting hurt. Don't be afraid of failure. Yeah, just time is definitely against you.
Yeah.
Time is definitely against you. So if there's something that you want to do, don't be reckless, but get after it. So, I mean, do I regret not, hitting, my original military goals? Yeah, I do. But would I have Joyce for Selena? Probably not.
Right.
So, I made something of it, and
Something amazing. Okay, so this one will play great into what you had just finished saying about time is against you. When I wake up, usually, or throughout my day, I say something along the lines of, I'm not immortal, I am mortal, and I will die one day. Not to scare me. I heard it from this guy, this guru guy, Sadhguru. You can probably check him out, find him everywhere. I don't know why that resonated for me more. I just liked it a lot. I just think it's great. It's not as a reminder to scare me, but time is against me. We're not here forever, and it will end one day. It makes me want to hurry up and do stuff and get busy, continue to do stuff. Give it a go,
take chances. And with that, I wish you a long, prosperous life. I'm glad you're here. But after everything's said and done, what do you want people to think and feel about your life?
Um, just for whatever reason, I always didn't think much about my life. I always thought of it lesser than things. I was more in I was in awe and inspired by people like you, people like Joy. Like I felt like I was just like American kid, first world problems. You had to cross river to get here. Even people coming from a different country. So I don't know, for whatever reason, they had I propped up the values of your stories over mine. I was just like, who cares about my life? Who cares about my story?
All right.
But you know, I haven't fully reversed that, but I've learned that we are one of the human universe. Every story matters. So be grateful for the life that you live, and but time is still against your side. Make the most of it. It doesn't have to be something super amazing. I hear bits and pieces of some of the people that you have on your podcast, and they've got some really amazing stories, and I'm like, but I'm pretty sure that there's something, because I'll always remember, and I tell this to Selena, the one things that I'll always remember is little bits and pieces throughout my childhood, random people where we would just happen to be with each other. They might say something or they might do something, and it can be just a totally random thing. And they'll say and do something, and it'll lock into my head, and it'll cause a little path or a little direction of the way I think or act for something for the rest of my life. So, be inspired with the stories that you do with your lives.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. I mean, you're right. Everybody has a particular story that, like, when you get to sit down here with somebody, you don't really know. You know them, but you don't
Hmm.
really know what did they think about. How is it that they thought about life? How is it that they came up to be who they are now?
Hmm.
I would never guess certain things happen to you, but being in the military, I kind of sort of see why certain things, thoughts might cross your mind, and but at the same time, also growing up in Mexico, just like you grew up, or you were in the Philippines for some time, some of those things do come up and
Hmm.
add on to who you can be eventually become, right?
Right.
So yeah, all of our every single being's life is amazing. Some of
Hmm.
them might be a little bit more highlighted on TV or whatever the case might be, but at the end of the day, like, your story, you being able to survive the attack, being able to be here, still seeing a positive outlook in life, and having an amazing wife, amazing daughter, is just something that other people might not even be able to relate to, because it's not their story. And to
Hmm.
other people will be like, damn, that's amazing.
Right.
That is a truly amazing story. Not to mention all the stuff that you do with the audio and video itself, how
Mm.
big you go with it. That some people may not even realize in the business how big or how much effort you put into even get into that, and having it broadcast to the entire company with uh, thousands of people there, and they get to see your work, but they don't realize how much work it takes in the back preparation for you to get there.
Oh yeah.
So it's amazing. I mean, without a doubt, Chris, you are an honorary Global Latin Factor. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us in another Exchanging Culture episode. Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Alrighty. This was another episode of the Global Latin Factor, another Exchanging Culture episode. Make sure you stay tuned for the next one. If you want to know when the next one is, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you'll know. Make sure you comment as well. Any thoughts, comments, let us know. Don't be ugly though, because you'll be deleted. Your message will be you won't ever see it. I'll be like, what comment? What comment? What happened? Where? What are you talking about? Anyways, but the ones that I do appreciate, feedback is great, but don't be ugly, because I guarantee you, nobody's gonna see you comment. You'll be gone before you know it. Anyways,
Thank you very much again. Subscribe and remember, we are just like you. We are humans. We are the spice in this melting pot that it is the world. Till next time.
Thank you very much for checking out this episode of the Global Latin Factor Podcast. Make sure you go and subscribe to the channel and check out one of the other episodes that we have prepared for you. Thank you very much. Till next time.
Walks like a pedo, but in fact is a flamingo. Coming to Havana and reflecting.